Hey guys, welcome to the interview. Today we have Kyle Laz on the live. We were just playing with the filters, so you're like, do we go live with the filter? And Kyle looks amazing with like lipstick and rollers and stuff, but we decided to go no, not this time.
It's a thing.
Yeah, it's really cool to have you joining this sequence, and also that we're here in human form. Like, it's been fun figuring out how to do interviews on Zoom, and yeah, but it's also really fun to have a couple of these live ones. Just realised I don't have my microphone, so hopefully the sound is a bit better. Yeah, so how you doing?
I'm really well.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I think most humans through my community know you, but do you want to do a bit of a who is Kyle? Who is this?
Who am I?
Who am I? Who is Kyle? I like people to introduce themselves. Like, what would you like to share about this being that you are at the moment?
Being that I am, as in Kyle Laz. Essentially, I'm just a human working it all out, and that's what I've been doing for the last 16 or so years, working out what it is to be human and how to live life in certain ways. And that path led me to looking into plant medicines, both for health and wellness, as well as spiritual exploration, and also exploring sound and breath.
Amazing.
So essentially, I help people with that. People who are looking at keeping their connection to being human, as well as expanding into new realms of the infinite potential that it is in this life.
It's this weird balance of like looking and then connecting. And
Yeah.
looking. So we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. I know you're known as the chocolate wizard.
Oh, chocolate.
What does that mean? Like, what does a chocolate wizard do?
Well, essentially, a wizard is someone who seeks wisdom and shares wisdom and holds counsel for wisdom. So within chocolate being the food of the gods, it's also this beautiful vessel or container that holds all the other herbs really well. So being a chocolate wizard is a way of serving ancient wisdom to our modern day culture, and really a beautiful platform to share about plants and magic and vibration.
Awesome. Because it just wasn't in the job description, like when I went through school. So I just thought I'd check, and maybe we get clear on that just for the audience. And people are getting familiar with what that might mean.
Yeah, and they let me through customs when I fly overseas. Just putting that as my occupation, it works. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it does. Never been questioned on it.
Oh, that's funny. Cool. So this interview series does have a few questions, but we can also flow a bit around that. So however you're feeling to sort of go with the answers is all good.
Great.
So the first one is a bit of a looking back. So what did you love most about 2019?
What I liked the most about 2019 was, it was like in my dreaming, everyone was like remembering who they are and what they're doing, and well, that's what I was doing, and seeing all the possibilities that we have and what really lights us up, and really breaking through all the things of what we should do or what we think we should do, what others think we should do, and what really lights us up, and following that, and the messiness that comes from that and the wildness that comes from that into that's the feeling I had, and having fun throughout it. So
and so is that a process you've seen through with other people or just with you? Like, I mean, I know you went a little bit there, but
yeah, I've seen it with people that I've hung out with close to. Yeah. I definitely have. There's not many people I spend a lot of like my spare time with, but the people that I have, I've noticed that. Yeah.
Hey guys, hey Ria and Trish, we've had a few people start jumping on. Awesome to have your comments. Drop any questions you guys have too as we go. For sure, would love to add those to the download series. It's all good. Next question is, what's something you're really grateful to have ended over the past decade?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Something I'm grateful for ending. I feel like this ending this like self-doubt piece that I've had, or this piece of like I'll do something and then I'll stop doing it just to see what happens when I stop doing the thing. I'm doing this practice and it's working really well for me, and now I'm going to stop it because I just want to see. I'm ending that, I'd say, of that like questioning what it is that I know that's good for me as far as like that foundational level. So stopping that, yeah, that would be.
And what's showing up instead?
What's showing up instead is ease and flow and grace in showing up for my daily practice, and noticing the places that I'm waking up in and how easy it is for me to flow into them as well.
Okay. Do you want to share a bit more? Like what kind of practices and what's working?
I guess for me what's working is at the moment a specific practice is actually the Tibetan rites and some Qigong, purely because it's easy for me to do anywhere, and I can do it whether it's 5 minutes or an hour, and I can also do it whether it's first thing in the morning or in the afternoon. So if I'm at home, I wake up and I do it straight away, but if I'm somewhere else, I'll just make sure I do it somewhere along the day. And there's always a pocket that I find that when I'm with people, that people start to like read or go for a swim or they're playing with their dog, that I can just do my practice in. So that's a gem for me, because it seems to align everything when I do that. When I do that practice, it's like this one little thing that I really know moves the needle the most for me within my performance and presence.
Amazing. It's interesting how simple it can be when you come back to it, that there might be just one or two things rather than the list of perfection of what, a daily routine looks like. Yeah. Awesome. So thinking back on the last year and the kind of patterns in the collective, what do you think we learned as a collective last year?
Wow. Last year in particular, I think the power of coming together and celebrating more and having more fun and like coming together and partying more is more powerful than, say, what do you call it, like writing. Actually coming together and having fun and watching
it's like the celebration change.
Yeah.
The celebration revolution.
Yeah. I feel like that's a big piece, instead of getting angry about things, to actually come together and celebrate the good pieces and how that ripples out and makes changes. I feel like that, and the importance of like staying in our center amongst chaos. I feel like that was a big piece as well.
Yeah.
So noticing the people that when we're in a group of people that can do that, that was for me, and I feel like that was in the collective. But like as in the collective small bubble,
it's
or
the
like
interesting collective. Yeah, well, that's the thing, like collective is like, what do we even mean by that? So
I think collectively in the big bubble in Australia, we're still like in the smoke and no one really knows like what's going on, and everyone needs to wake up or meditate more. And
when you say it like that, because this is like one of the tensions between like a lot of us, who are in these conversations regularly, we have these small communities where people are really already engaged in a lot of the conversations about who are we and what are we doing and how do we show up for the world. And yet there's this experience of a bigger culture or conversation that isn't awake or isn't on board for that yet. Like how much interface or interaction do you have between the worlds? Not that they're separate, but like between like when you flow through things and you say they're still in the smoke.
Yeah. I feel like I like to be informed. I like to look into what I call like the darkness or the shadows of what's happening in the world. So that's from like, why is there hunger, why is there war, and all the deeper, darker things that come with that. But then also bringing it back to knowing that the only way that I can really make a difference is when I connect in with myself and I build up what my light is. And that balance between building that light and looking to shine the light on things. And now I've just come to the point where I believe that all the people I know will become influencers, because we need to influence the rest of humanity, opposed to making an impact on like hunger or on all this like this direct charge. It's actually just being a good human for other people to click onto. So that's the thing that I find is the most on point, opposed to just being in a mountain and meditating and not seeing anyone, or blowing up dams because they're damming all our water. Like, it just seems extreme. So my in between is like choosing love, and when I choose love instead of fear, it's to be a good human and then influence people in whatever way. So building on how do I build a greater influence and continue to be a great human.
And what if someone feels like there's really extreme change or extreme actions that are needed? I mean, there's a lot of people would be now looking at perhaps the way government and leadership is showing up in this country, going, we need something a little bit more extreme in terms of change, and what does that look like, or solutions in terms of, how do we balance this like love and gradual evolution with this feeling of shit has to happen now, something's wrong now?
My feeling with someone who's feeling like something needs to happen is, my first question would be like, well, what is that?
Yep.
And if it's really extreme, how do I do that? And can you tell me how I do that? And then can we sit down? And if it's like for instance extreme, like this is out of the box, but like someone going and blowing up the dams that are being like illegally put up anyway, okay, I need to go blow up a dam to save the water situation. I don't know how to blow up stuff. So can you tell me how to blow up stuff? Or like, do you know people? If not, can you go sit with yourself and find another solution for me? Because that's what I'm going to do.
Oh, if they want to enroll you in their solution, you mean?
Yeah.
Kind of thing, yeah.
It's like, I personally prefer to hear that than of all the bad stuff that's going on, because I actually do know the bad stuff that's going on, but without the solution that each person has, that's my advice. Instead of going and spreading all the bad stuff, make sure you have, before you do that, just maybe have a bit of insight for people, so you're not like adding to the fear that's already there. Yeah.
So having a few steps of action or ways to shift it towards solving, even if one thing doesn't solve it.
Yeah.
I guess one thing I'm noticing a little bit too is like there's really different actions for different people. And like if a solution or a problem or a cause is calling you, it doesn't have to call or speak to everyone else. Like the way this works, as best I understand, our collective organism is if each person is following the thing of the compass that calls them and following the solutions and the actions that feel to call them and sharing the words and spreading what's on their heart, that we each do that. And it's, I guess that phrase, which does my head in because it feels super overdone, but is the stay in your lane, like stay in your center, on your point, like follow your truth in this, I guess.
Yeah, and I feel like within the bigger game that's playing, or the bigger dream that's playing, like all the things like with the fires and all these things that happen, they could just be tests to how do you stay in your center. Can you stay in your center while it seems like everything's burning?
Yeah.
Can you still hold that center of positivity? Can you still hold that center of light? Or do you just crumble and be like, oh my God, it's burning and we're gonna die from no water and we're gonna get bombed? Or you can actually still stay in it and actually be able to be calm amongst it. I feel like that. I do apologize if my like I find that when I use those voices that I might be like, I don't know, offending someone. But I'm not meaning to be offensive. I'm just over exaggerating the point of how I can be when I lose my center. I can be like, oh, what do I do? Who's got dynamite?
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess, this is a question that's been on my mind for a long time, to be honest. And it was interesting you mentioned voices, because with some of my history in hearing voices, going back probably 12 years now, when I was experiencing psychosis, I would get these really intense scenarios to walk through and live through and navigate. And this question of who are you when the world ends has been on my mind for a long time. Like, if the world's ending, if there is crisis, if there is all this drama and intensity, and not in a drama someone's adding it for fun or like it's not necessary, but if there's a lot of intensity, who are you? Who are you in those moments? And I think those moments really get to shape and crystallize who we are. Like our values, about how we be human, about how we make choices, they get to redefine us and shape us. So yeah, who are you when the world ends? I don't think the world is ending, just to be clear. Like, I do think we're getting a hell of a wake-up call in a sort of sense, but also possibly at that collective level, a shock into that question of who are we? Not just who am I, but who are we? How do we care for so many communities now in crisis, and so many animals and plants and people, and like, how do we do that? Questions.
And that feeling of who are you when you get what you want. You know, when a lot of people have this vision of like the community and living in community, and like for me personally, like I lived in community this year, and it was beautiful, but then I lost myself in it. So it's like I had to redefine who I am and how do I fit in amongst a community, and what's my role in that, and that communication piece. So that's been a big one. It's just been like, when you're earning 7 figures and you're making an impact on the world, what are you doing, and what impact are you actually making, and what impact am I actually able to make? Those have been the questions that I've been thinking about this year, and really looking out into feeling what that feels like. What needs to actually happen. Continuously
For sure.
asking that.
Next question. What's the most important leadership trend that you sort of saw rising over the last decade?
Leadership trend. I feel like authenticity. People that are authentic and just share who they are, in that motivational way and inspirational way. It's not like sharing, and when I say authentic, it's not necessarily sharing all the bad stuff that's happening, but really sharing like life journeys and real people. I feel I've connected with a lot this decade. I've connected with a lot of leaders, and they all are as they are when you meet them as well.
Yeah, it's a bit of that collapse of the false persona, showing up with a bit more of the wholeness, kind of.
Yeah, and in that, everyone has their own, like, people who are really intense, and they come out with their intense, like, rude into society. They have their people that will follow them and learn from that and be like, yeah, I want to be like that. And the more gentle people that are, like, spoken. Think of Eckhart Tolle. He sits and he speaks really slowly and he chills, and he's got an amazing following and he's done amazing things. So it's really, I feel like everyone really stepping into their own pieces, and I think like organization is a piece in there that sits people who can be organized in multiple worlds, have a big influence, and can be leaders.
Tell me about that one. Like, wow, I've never heard that idea from you.
Oh,
Share
really?
us about on that.
Yeah, I just feel like 'cause there's so many realms of life to really juggle and to like move through, whether it's finances and family and then health, and there's all these things to be like, and when there's so much going on, and then there's other people needing support, there's this organization piece that's needed. And it's something that I've been like calling in and building on this year for me personally.
This year, the last 5 days.
Actually, not at all. Actually, the last 5 days I've been really 6 days. Day 6, it's good.
6 days.
Day
well,
6.
It's 5 days previous.
I've
but
had
yeah,
the
we're on
most
day
amazing
6.
6 days of my life, and I've been quite organized in. I wake up, I swim in the creek, I hop out, I have a beautiful breakfast.
Awesome.
But yeah, that organization piece is a piece that I'm personally working on. I've noticed it as trends of people that I know who are in leadership roles, having that organization, having that team. So it is a piece that's
awesome. Cool. We're going to shift gears and start looking forwards a little bit more. And so what is new and exciting for you in 2020? What's coming?
2020. A lot more travel, and a lot more deeper sound explorations, and group activations.
What's that for?
'Cause I was like, Secret Chocolate Society, do I say something or do I don't say something? It's like it's a piece there. But yeah, a lot more refined, collective ritual and ceremony and meditations, and playing in that field again, because I did play in that field 8 years ago,
Awesome.
2012. So that's 2020 feels like a similar vibe to 2012.
Yep.
It kind of feels like it has that same momentum
Cool.
with people behind it, as in something new and some shifts happened in 2020, and it has. I felt it. It was pretty incredible.
Yeah. And where's the travel to? What's on the list?
It's good. Australia. Around Australia would be, there's parts of Australia that I really want to see that I haven't seen, and people have been requesting me to go to places, and I'm thinking potentially the States as well. Yeah, that's probably as much as I'll be able to get done this year. Maybe Africa, back to Africa, South Africa.
Cool.
Yeah, back to homeland, rootsy things.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How long since you've been there?
Back to South Africa. 16 years. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
So that's a journey to put on the list.
Yeah.
Family
to
things.
revisit and see how that culture, which is also a colony, British colony as well, has grown and sprouted, and what minds are flourishing there. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting. And so if people are wanting to catch up with what you're doing in 2020, how's the best way? Like, where can they join or follow in or be part of what you're creating?
It's still Facebook, Instagram. That's where I
Social
post
stalking.
Social stalking is most of my stuff, and yeah, that's the best right now.
Awesome. What projects or causes or are you wanting to work on or create over the next decade?
There's a few projects that I've come into contact with within my community in Australia here. A few different retreat spaces, which are more like initiation spaces that I'm contributing to and wanting to get more involved in that. Rejed projects, and yeah, supporting and getting to know more about the origines of this land as well, because there's some amazing medicines and some amazing magic that have constantly been being fed by friends who are connecting in with these remote communities as well. Amazing.
And I think that's a really big piece of what's needed in the decade. Some of that like world bridging, I guess, between the wisdoms and kind of what's happening there.
Yeah, I think it is. I think there's an important piece around knowing the past so we can move forward, but also being able to let go of the past to move forward. So having that understanding of it, and bridging the worlds with like really remembering that we're all custodians of this planet.
Yep. And it's like a remembering how to do that for some of the cultures. Yeah. Oh, bumped away. Screen. Next question. So, how old are you now, Kyle?
I'm 33.
33.
Here now.
Here and now. Awesome. So if we were to go forward 10 years to 2030.
2030.
There's Kyle at 43.
Silver fox. Yes.
43. Okay. So if you are like looking out through your eyes at the world in 2040, how's it feeling out there? It feels good. I feel like there's a lot of change and a lot of like, it feels like there's a lot of momentum and a lot of movement out there,
with people doing a lot of things and a lot of things coming into fruition.
Mm.
Yeah.
Cool. That's good to hear. So as you're out there in 2030, so looking out through those eyes and remembering back, over the last decade,
Mm-hmm.
what's been the biggest question, for leaders and people stepping up into that custodianship and, taking a role in navigating this planet? What sort of questions are on their heart?
I feel like it's the questions really, the foundational one is like, what's actually wanting to happen through me, and that reconnection with regeneration. So like clearing out the old and planting seeds for the new, and yeah.
And I loved how you framed that, like, what's wanting to happen through me? Like there's a bigger story or a bigger consciousness or a bigger mind, or however you want to label that, that there is a larger pattern that we are part of. How are we experiencing that over the, like, when you're thinking back, do we experience that a bit more?
I feel like we do, even with the trends of meditation and yoga and all these, like, I think we've gone through this range of like really intense, like you got the Bikram yoga, everyone's in it doing hardcore Bikram yoga, and then you got Wim Hof breathing, so everyone's breathing, and then we can really remember that we move our body in certain ways and we breathe, but it is bringing that connection to those aspects, that stillness, that silence, and also the breaths and the cycles. So it's, if we can be aware, when we're aware of the cycles, whether it's summer, winter, autumn, to the dates of the Gregorian calendar, or actually we notice, these plants are flowering now and they don't normally flower, but these changes of seasons, then we can start to move where we need to be. And I feel like that also starts with that breath awareness, because that breath is this cycle, it's this constant changing, constant moving exchange that we have within our bodies, and we always have our next breath, and we're changing with each breath.
But it's interesting, like you're kind of like sharing how this connectedness to our own breath, our own stillness, is the pathway to understanding the environment, the contribution, like how do we be part of supporting each other, I suppose. That's kind of what you're saying. So like,
well, it's kind of like there's this system that's breathing us when we're not paying attention to our breath. And the more that we pay attention to this system, then we actually become in sync with it and aware of it. So then the greater cycle of the systems of life and how everything moves, we're attuned with that. It's kind of like when you look at like bacteria on a petri dish and it's all just moving, it looks all sporadic. They're not really thinking, but they all have their own tasks. And it's kind of like that when we connect in with ourselves, we can move into that rhythm or that cycle. Or in a sound healing perspective, the more we listen and the more we can be still within ourselves, we can listen to that song that's playing all the time, that one verse, that universe. And if we're listening, then we know how we can harmonize and how we can move and how we can sing along in the streaming.
And do you think those ideas make them through into that larger collective in the next decade? Like when you're in that future, how much saturation do you reckon we get of those ideas into mainstream or whatever, like the larger wholeness of us?
Yeah, I feel like it gets to a fairly enough people, because I feel like there's enough people who are conscious and aware of these things that are also moving into building bigger businesses and bigger corporations, and then that infiltrates it out into the world and becomes trendy. Like it becomes trendy to meditate. Like it became trendy to drink ayahuasca.
Yeah.
And like people are just wanting to drink it, and there's places serving lots of it, and same as yoga. There's yoga.
It's weird. I
corner.
find there's like this reaction in me to like the word trendy. It's like I get it as trendy, but it feels like, oh, I just do it because everyone else does.
The word trend.
Yeah. And I guess for me, yes, we're looking at trends, but I'm also looking at the deeper knowing if we do it because that's obviously who we are. That, like there's that saturation of it a little bit deeper into the consciousness.
But that's what I love about the trends, because the trend almost, it's like a current that takes people into it, and the people who, yes, it is just for me, will get what they need, and the people who are just following the current will also get what they need in like probably a rude shock. Like when you meet people who have done certain things, it's like, I don't like that. It's like, well, why did you do it in the first place? Or it sounded like a good idea, or been questioning people about it. And it's like, oh, well, everyone's doing it, so I thought it would be a good idea to do the thing. And I mean, when the thing to do is like go to a meditation class or go to yoga, great.
Yeah.
I think I like to look at that because it's like there's this
the cool thing.
Yeah. But there's also like this
it's like
what's
yoga bars or something, like the fusions between the worlds that make it trendy, like a yoga bar. You do a shot and then a yoga class or something.
Wow, yeah, kombucha shot. And just
no, I mean, I'm like trying to think about how sometimes the way the trends evolve is this cross pollination of cultures.
Yeah, and often people of influence sharing what they've done. It's like that. It's like the biohacking thing. It's actually like naturopaths and yogis have been biohackers for ages, but now bulletproof coffee. Because of coffee, like you said.
Yeah,
now
it's
like
such a
biohacking
phrase.
with
it's
coffee
like
and everyone likes
biohacking.
coffee. So now it's like
It's like coffee wins that game in terms of the plant consciousness got it coming through with its own agenda.
Yeah.
Coffee's like, okay, I've got the physical upgrade, what is it? Chocolate, you've got the emotional upgrade.
Yeah.
And then like some of the more psychedelics and plant medicines, you guys have the consciousness upgrade. And so it's kind of it's bringing in these ideas and wisdom through those channels. It's quite interesting.
And I think within those trends, it's also like a current, like all these currents coming in, whether it's like sacred sexuality or plant medicine or business and wealth, it all like feeds into the same ocean. So really when you're looking at the current, it's like what's currently being broadcasted in these fields. And it's nice to pick up on them. And also to be like, I think in the last 10 years I've really been broadcasting those, and it's nice for me in my dreaming now to see that it's everywhere, to the point where this year as well, like my ego at times is like, wow, everyone's doing this thing now that I was doing, and my ego being like, am I as important? And
are you as important?
I'm as important now. sitting with that, like sitting and going,
this tension of this thing matters so much, I want it everywhere, and then damn, it's everywhere, now what?
And
so
I think that happens every few years, and I'll often sit, and then it's like this in the silence, and it's like, hang on, it's happening. And it's like, great, okay, cool, this whole thing of wanting to be a community, and it's like this, I think within me there's this sameness complexes. When I'm with too many people that are the same as me, it almost like can at times drop out the vibration. It almost feels like it's like a disresonance instead of an amplification.
Because you need to be a polarizer. Little bit. It's interesting.
It's fun.
Some of us we create naturally in some sort of polarity or opposition to the status quo.
And I mean, I'm noticing within my world it being like saturated, and it's nice in a nice like saturation point, kind of like the Dead Sea where you can float in it really relaxingly. On that top of like meditation and yoga, where everyone's doing what everyone's tried and everyone's practicing and everyone has their practice, and then when I connect in with people that are like investment brokers that aren't in my circles, when I speak to them, they all want to know more about meditation, and they say things like, I don't even know where to go to yoga, and I'm like, where do you live? In Sydney? So you live in Sydney, and as if there's not a yoga studio on every corner in Sydney as well. But seeing that there is people seeking, and
there's still seekers. It's like that waves of adoption.
It's like they just don't see it.
It's really interesting. One of the just reminding me of something that came up in one of the other conversations was very much around, we can't keep having siloed communities. So even as you say, you're in a community where certain practices or ways of being, or the threads are normal or really adopted or included. Is like, we can't stay in our bubbles. Like that interspersing and flow between different communities is part of the medicine that's needed. And so to be there, and as you say, it sort of loses its intensity, just tells me that, you know, your work is to keep going back out to the people that don't quite know yet or haven't really dropped in or still figuring out how do I Google yoga in Sydney. Like,
Yeah.
which is an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So the next question, we're still in the future.
Yes.
So 2030, 43-year-old Silver Fox Kyle.
Silver Fox. Gotcha.
Anything else you want to share from out there for us? What's going on in your life?
Oh. I feel like in that space, there's still so much to learn and discover and grow, and I'm really excited for the future.
Yeah.
And the journey, and it's learning more and more to enjoy the process of life and being present with what's happening right now, because
it's been
one
really
thing happening.
And what's that? Tell us.
It's love. There's only one thing happening, and that's love all the time.
It's really interesting actually having asked that question for quite a few people, like, and really noticing some people are really comfortable to go sit out in the future and just hang out there and feel into it, and you were. And some people, it's like in a lot of ways, I'm just going to share my read. It's not as truth or anything. It's that their timelines are still in flux. Like they're still in a we don't know yet where it's going, and so that willingness to just sit out there hasn't landed in the same way. And I fully appreciate it, because I know the world's changing so rapidly. We are still moving a lot of those big pieces. So if you are feeling uncertain about the future, it is uncertain. Like this is a collective evolution, and so as we move some threads, other pieces are going to move. And I think most of us know we're going to be impacted by things in the next 10 years that we have no way to predict. But yeah, that was really interesting to notice that was quite fine to sort of sit there and feel it. I got a read on my body, actually. There definitely looks like there's going to be kids out there. Just that's what came through.
For me?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's quite interesting. But anyway, just because I can share what I got.
I feel that Silver Fox Kyle.
Yeah.
Wearing a hat.
Couple of little rugrats running around.
Oh yeah.
With a hat.
With a hat. With one of those, what's it called? I can't think of the name of the hat right now, but I got this hat.
The cat in the hat?
I'm going to get this hat
like that
when
one?
I'm 40. It's going to be my Silver Fox hat.
The 40-year-old hat. Okay, got
and
it.
smoking cigars. Beautiful cigars and drinking whiskey.
Cool. So, while you're out in the future and you're remembering back, what was the most important leadership thing that sort of rose, or trend that rose during that decade? If you remember, what changed?
I feel like a piece that changed was this focus on that there's something greater operating that we wanted to connect with, and then it's reminding people that's inside of us. So yes, money might be a pathway, and sex might be a pathway, and the plans might be a pathway, but these flow state experiences are within us, and it's bringing people into that piece of how do we be in that. Then everyone does have their own piece. When they're in flow, everyone is able to do their thing, and it's on their own terms, so they can build their own piece. It's not this is the vision that we need to happen? You know, like,
Yeah.
is that actually what wants to happen? So yeah, I feel like that's a leadership change of.
It's sort of like, you know how like through different cultures, like religions have come through at different times, but underneath each religion or each spiritual, like whatever the practice is, there seems to be these core spiritual doctrines around love and the connectedness inside us, and that the core information perhaps is coming to rise. Like it's, and I'm even not sure about using the word spiritual, because it seems to have gotten co-opted by whatever people think that is, but that at the center of us, that whether it's the qualities of compassion or that, as you said, the flow states, that experience of feeling the connectedness or the infinity or the love, that something in that is more important and is coming through.
Yeah, and I feel like whenever things like that, movements like that happen, in the past they have turned into religions or spiritual movements, or having like a guru figure, and I feel like it's moving out of that, where there's no them and us, there's no me and him, there's only us, and I think moving into that kind of piece of it's all the Tao. You know, I guess people like Jesus or even like Sai Baba and those said, don't follow me, don't give up your religion, and people still did. So it's like now there's another generation of like, no, really, like build your own connection, because we're all part of that. So
yeah,
I remember actually being 18 and saying that my religion is Kyle. People were like, oh, and I was like, and you can't follow my religion, you have to call it your own.
but people could follow you on Facebook.
Yeah, people can follow me on Facebook. We can follow people, because we still need to be influenced by each other. Like, and that's important to influence.
Yeah. It's just funny, the word follow, and now it's turned into this social media thing. It's just
great.
You can't have followers unless you do.
Yeah. Don't follow me on Facebook anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really curious like that.
Amazing. Well, that's all my questions, but to complete, is there anything else that you feel like sharing around 2020, where we've come, where we're going, right on this edge of new decade?
Well, when I feel into connecting in with what wants to happen, so from like a meditation space and moving into breath and connecting in with what is it, what is your intention and how do you want to show up, and just reflecting on what has your past intention been. Because now with when I look at the fire and I look at the water, it's like there's transformation happening, there's vision, 2020 vision, so things are going to be starting to become a lot clearer into what you need to do, and what you need to let go of, so what you need to stop doing and really release to move into that. And then with the waters being like, there's not much water. It's actually, water's like allowance and flow and trust, and also doing less and achieving more. So having that vision, and then allowing self to not have to do as much, and to be like water, allow yourself to flow a bit, just to feel into the uncomfortability that happens when you're still and things start to surface. And then really to earth and to be earthlings, it's about practicing. So actually, what are the practices you need to do, the little pieces, and start practicing it and showing up and participating. I think like participating in this dream is the most important thing, and something I'm so grateful for, being able to like be a part of your dream and everyone's dream, and for being dreamed into the multitudes of dreams. But yeah, that participation, but not just participate, so it feels like action needs to be taken, not just taking action because someone said to take action, but to really allow for that vision to be clearer for you, and to allow yourself the time for stillness to flow before just doing, because it's also that time where fear makes people respond and react, and it's easy to get people to do certain things, and it's not about that. I'm not saying just go out and do stuff. It's like, do less stuff actually. So people are telling you to wake up, maybe have a nap, have an afternoon nap. I had a little nap, You know, I like to sort of do that. Like when everyone's
Less,
saying, "We need
less,
to do this
less
thing,"
stuff with more refined intention.
yeah. And I feel like the right choice will always have space for you to sit and connect in with yourself before doing it. It's not like act in haste and we have to act right now. And
If you don't choose, then you're like not good enough.
allow the thing to like.
You're not a leader if you don't keep saying yes.
Yeah, and if the world's gonna end if you don't do the thing, let it end. Just sit and be with you. As long as you're being with you and you're not like sending a text message or something or watching a YouTube video. Like if you're not gonna do the thing, you just take time to breathe. And I feel like that's a great navigation tool. Even when things feel really intense, just come to your breath and just feel whatever's happening, and don't do it, and see what happens. And next time you can do it. Anyway, something like that.
For sure.
Just want to, and more parties. Throw parties.
Have fun.
Have fun.
Yep. Amazing. Thank you for joining me today. Happy Monday. Hope you guys, if you're tuning in on, if you've tuned on the replay and watched through to here, let us know that you watched it.
Yeah.
And have an amazing day.
Thanks, guys.
Talk soon. Bye.